You're watching Aurora 8, proud to be serving Aurora, Colorado, and all-America City.
It's been a year of big news and big changes for Aurora Public Schools. Earlier this year, John Berry stepped down as superintendent after serving the district extremely well since taking over in 2006. He left some very big shoes to fill. Tonight on Dateline Aurora, we'll meet the man chosen by the school board to fill them. New Superintendent Rico Munn is here. But that was not the only big news the district this year had. One of its own educators, Amanda Westenberg, was chosen the big honor of being Colorado Teacher of the Year. We'll meet both of them and hear more about their perspectives on both the challenges, the positive directions that APS is headed in the future. That's all coming up next on Dateline Aurora. And welcome to Dateline Aurora. I'm Adam Dempsey. Now, studies have shown that Aurora is one of the most diverse cities in the nation. No better example of that is the student population of Aurora Public Schools, with students representing over 100 different language backgrounds. You don't want to count them. And the district has reached out to embrace that diversity, to celebrate it in pursuing educational excellence by preparing thousands of young people annually to compete in a new world increasingly focused on math and science-related jobs. Leading the way toward that excellence is the new superintendent of the district, Rico Munn. Welcome.
Thank you, Adam.
Glad to see you.
I appreciate it.
First time we've talked in a while. And directly modeling excellence in teaching is Colorado Teacher of the Year, Aurora Public Schools educator Amanda Westenberg. Also, welcome to Dateline Aurora.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Teacher of the Year.
Thanks.
All right. That's some work you got done. Certainly, congratulations to both of you for sure. It's been probably an incredible year of achievement for both of you. But I tell you what, there's a legacy that was begun in Aurora Public Schools that the district has been pursuing, and they've done well with your under your predecessors. Amanda, you certainly are proof that the district is going in the right direction there. Superintendent Munn, if you can imagine, if you could bottle up the best teaching qualities that Amanda displays every day that you'd like to give a little bit to every single teacher in the district, what would that be?
Well, I think one of the wonderful things about Amanda and about the team that she works with at Rangeview High School is that they bring a lot of energy, they bring a lot of passion and commitment to all of the kids that we have in the school.
Yeah.
We're focused on accelerating learning for all of our kids every day, and that idea that each day they, step by step, try to understand what the needs of the community are and try to address those needs are what we're trying to make sure that we're doing all across the district.
Yeah. Amanda, your Colorado Teacher Year for 2013. Big honor, 63,000 other teachers, I'm sure wanted to compete with you, but you stood tall there. Question is, why did you want to compete for Teacher of the Year? Why? That is such an honor to do, but you also have to do a lot of work to get there.
I can't say that I was asked to apply to be Teacher of the Year. And it's definitely an opportunity to have a lot of quality conversations about education and how we can move forward. And it has been a privilege to be part of those conversations and to represent other teachers in the passion that we feel about doing the best job that we can for our kids.
In your teaching and methods, what's the one thing that you emphasize that you do well that makes the connection with the students and made the connection for your selection?
On the first day of school, I tell kids why I'm there. I tell them that I'm there because I care, and I tell them that I'm there because of my story. And my story is one that I was almost part of the 20% of American kids that drop out of high school.
Yeah.
And they almost drop out because they think that there's not a single adult in that building that really cares about them. And that's not true. And so I tell them my background, and I say that I'm there because I care about you, not just that you get a high quality education, but that you come to a building that's safe. And that people want you to succeed. And I think that that is really meaningful. They have enough people around them that can push them to be academically successful, but they want to know that somebody is there for them.
I think that dovetails well with your philosophy of your district and educators to be of service to the community.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we recognize that the reason we exist is to serve this community. We are part of the Aurora community, and we believe that every part of the community is also a potential resource for educating and doing the teaching and learning for all of our students.
We're going to do more details on your philosophy and your background to get the award, but we want to take a chance, take a chance. We want to take a moment here to recognize a gentleman before he left APS. We didn't get a chance to interview him again, but the legacy that John Berry left during his tenure here was pretty something special. You encountered it in your interviewing process, and you worked for him for a bit. How did John teach you? How did John reach out and touch you with his leadership?
I think that John worked really hard at helping us get through the end of a crisis, and we, as a classroom teacher, it was concerning to see my class sizes rise, and John helped pass some things that helped reduce class sizes. We have more teachers in our department than we have had in several years, more people to communicate with, more people to reach out and help kids, and I think that's a legacy of John Berry that I can see in my classroom today, and that's positive contribution.
Now, you had a chance to meet with him in the transition. How was that for you, for the things that he wanted to do when he came in? Because like yourself, he was a non-educator.
Right. Well, I mean, John, first of all, I was personally grateful to him for how smooth the transition process was and his openness and willingness to work with me and to help us make sure that the district didn't lose a step as we transitioned from his leadership to mine.
Right.
But I think one of the great legacies that John left is he left a very strong team in place, and I've been working with that team. One great example of that is as we dealt with the storms and the floods that we recently had, we had teams and mechanisms and processes already in place that handled that incredibly well, that got all of our kids and teachers and families home safe and got us up and running at school as quickly as we could.
Yeah. You come from the private sector. How did that prepare you? You've done some other things with state education too, but how did that prepare you for the position that you're taking over now?
Well, I think people don't realize what an undertaking a school district is. It's a very large business enterprise. Now, I say that recognizing that the core of what we do is teaching and learning, but there's also, we have significant real estate assets. We have thousands of employees. We have a number of things that somebody from the private sector has that experience, has that background to bring to bear to support the work that Amanda does in the classroom. Amanda doesn't want to be worrying about some of those business processes. She wants to be and needs to be in front of those students doing the teaching and them doing the learning.
Now, Amanda, because you're Teacher of the Year, you probably had a few moments you could bend the ear of the superintendent for sure. What one thing that you want him to know that makes the district run well, or what he can contribute to keep it going in the direction which you've helped contribute to?
You could send me an email too.
Oh, I'm sure you would love that, several of them. I think it's to trust teachers and trust our educational process, and that teachers, knowing that teachers really, really care, and that we enjoy working together and we enjoy the kids and we enjoy the time. And a lot of times I think there's disruptions and it's difficult to see all of those things, but everybody is there for one purpose.
Now, you asked your staff to write job descriptions?
I did.
What was that about, and how did you write yours?
Well, I asked everybody in the district, everybody from our Board of Education down to the people working in our transportation department, to write what we called a unified job description. And the first sentence of the job description is the same for everyone. It says that my job is to accelerate learning for every APS student every day. The last sentence is the same for everyone as well. It says that my community needs me to do my job. And the second part of that is the individualized part. It talks about I do my job by, and people filled that in and talked about how they fulfill what is that central job that we all share, that we all have.
How did you fill yours in?
Same exact way. I was telling you, I talk to my students. That my first job is so that my students know that they care, that I care, and that they're safe.
You also had a chance to meet President Obama?
I did.
What was that like?
It was really exciting to see how invigorated he was by having teachers there and to just have an opportunity to talk about education. And I think it's a great moment for education when we take a day to honor teachers and to think about their contributions to our society.
Now, you both are role models. Staff looks at you, the community does too. When people see you, what do you want them to take away from what you do and the people who you are, the ethics that you have? Superintendent Munn.
Well, I think I want people to understand that I mean it when I say that I believe that our community needs us to do our job. That is central to why I come to work and why I think we all come to work, is an understanding that we as a community need these young people to be successful. We need them to acquire an education so that they can then determine for themselves what they want their lives to be as part of this community and part of other communities around the world.
Okay.
And I think I could definitely link my comments to Mr. Munn's. I believe that a school is a bedrock of a community, that we not only are responsible for education, but we're responsible at times of crisis. And we fulfill a variety of different roles, whether it's a place to vote. We have churches that come and we're part of that community. So that we're all in it together and that we are there to support the community and that the community supports us.
This is your first year for the new teacher effectiveness assessment program that's going on. It's been 3 years of educators developing it to make sure at least the kickoff is going to be introduced well. How is it being received so far in APS?
Well, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that people have. It is a new process, and we're still in the process of developing how it might work, how we might staff that, and how people can kind of work through that process. And I think anytime you have anything new, there's some apprehension. We're going to work through that, as everybody in the state is working through, to try to understand how to fairly evaluate our teachers and how to get the best information we can about what's happening in our classrooms.
Amanda, does that give you any more pressure in the classroom to perform at even higher level?
I wouldn't say that I feel pressure by it. I think that it is a learning process, and I think it's an opportunity to reflect and think about myself and think about how I can be better at what I'm doing and to honestly evaluate myself. And I'm not scared by it, but I think that it needs to be viewed through the correct lens, and that is, how do I improve myself?
How many years have you been in the district now?
This is my 8th year in the district.
Your 8th year.
Yeah.
What changes have you seen since you've been here from year 1 to year 8 now that have been really important to contribute to your success?
I have to say that I don't know if there have been changes in Aurora, but I feel like I have adapted to being in Aurora.
Yeah.
And that I've adapted to working with our population, and that is what I feel like has made me improve as a teacher.
Yeah.
Understanding how to work with the needs of our kids in our community. There have been changes in the district, and I think one of our greatest assets definitely is our community of students, but also our staff. We've worked really hard to come together and improve education, and so maybe it's the time that I've been here that I see that a little bit more clearly, and maybe it's adaptations that I've made on my part to help, fit what Aurora needs more.
Parents are students are your #1 constituent there, but parents are probably right there with them, no doubt about it. What perspective do you, Superintendent, want the parents to have regarding the direction the district is going to go and the learning that they should see in their students?
Well, I bring the perspective of being a parent of 2 APS students. And, I think about what I want for my kids and what I expect from my kids. I expect, one, that when they go to school, they're safe and that they're taken care of and that they're loved by the teacher in the classroom and by that entire school community. And I think part of that means that they are trying to understand their needs, trying to meet their needs, and trying to push them and propel them further onto greater things in their life.
Now, Amanda, I don't want to turn it into a parent-teacher conference, but we know how to do that. Okay. What is the one thing you want to communicate to parents that they need to do to support their child in your classroom or in any teacher's classroom?
I think that I talk from a high school teacher's perspective.
Yeah.
I think that high school students look like they should have total and complete responsibility, and they're still kids, and they're still learning, and they still need somebody to help check up on their grade. I would say to communicate with your teacher and see how you can support them at home. And it's just an open line of communication, because we're all responsible for our kids. The kid is responsible, I am responsible, we all need to work together. So having that clear line of communication, I think, is really important.
Superintendent Munn, as Amanda mentioned before, the amazing staff that you have here, what are your goals for the first year for APS that you've articulated to them?
Well, I think the overall goal is what I mentioned, is to accelerate learning for all of our kids, and that means different things at different levels and in different schools.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that all of our major indicators are on a positive trend. So when you look at some of the statewide objectives around TCAP and the Common Core, around the PARC assessments, we need to be on a positive trend on all of those things. We need to make sure that we implement policies like Senate Bill 191, which is the teacher effectiveness you were talking about,
right,
and the READ Act, which is about early childhood literacy, that we make sure we implement that in a way that it accurately assesses what's going on, what's happening with our teachers and our students, so that we can then make sure that we are closing the achievement gaps in our schools, that we are accelerating learning, because we do have a way to go. We need to increase our graduation rates, we need to increase overall proficiency, and making sure that we are on that track is, I think, key to where we need to be in this first year.
And I think before we started to tape the show, I tried to get clarification from you on what P20 was, because I didn't know. I thought it was a place, someplace out there. But it's a holistic learning track from primary to 20.
Right.
And you're there to touch that student all the way through. It's not primary to secondary to high school, we're done, you know.
Yeah, we're truly a P20 district. We have early childhood centers across our district, and we also then have a college, Pickens Technical College. So we try to move students through so that they're post-secondary and workforce ready, so that when they leave APS, they're ready to take on whatever challenge they want in life.
Now, Amanda, do you have, there are 100 languages spoken in APS. That you have to have some multiples in your classroom somewhere, somehow.
Definitely.
How are those managed when you want to teach? Do you have translators there? Do you have to do the translation? Do you have to teach English at the same time?
Well, we thankfully have a lot of supports. So we have a lot of classrooms that if students are coming with no English skills whatsoever, they have an opportunity to learn English in a safe environment. But we also learn how to work with English as a second language students, so that we can build up their learning and their understanding in a safe way. And I think that, yes, utilizing other students is really helpful, but having an understanding of high expectations for our learners, but giving them the support that they need when they're still learning a language.
Now, the reason why I ask you that and the setup there, since we're moving to a more of a global economy, you basically have a global school district with all the languages, all the cultures that are there. Do either of you look at integrating those other cultures into the learning process so that American kids learn more about these other foreign nationals that have come here, which will make them more effective when they graduate?
May I speak to that?
Please.
Okay. I think one of the greatest things that we have in Aurora is an opportunity to use our students as a resource. And if we're not getting in touch with their background, if we're not teaching content that they know about and that they care about and that is important to their lives, then we're missing a really great learning opportunity and an opportunity to show that we can relate to them. So yeah, Aurora Public Schools has done a phenomenal job when it comes to teaching a diverse range of students. And that's one of the things that the district has clearly provided to us teachers is access to information on how to do that and demonstration of how to do that. And I think it's truly one of the best elements that we have.
Did you want to add to it?
Well, I think if you're going to serve this community, you need to understand this community.
Yeah.
And this is a very diverse community, as you talked about in your opener, about, Aurora is a very diverse community. It has a lot of things coming together. And if we're truly going to be part of serving that, we need to be part of that and understand the different cultural needs, the different languages, as much as we can, and to try and make sure that we are developing relationships cross-culturally, because that's how you connect with students, that's how you connect with their families, and you can't really make a difference in their education unless you connect with them.
Now, as we see the economy getting stronger, are budgets in the future going to be stronger as well? And the way Aurora is growing out there, you got to be constantly thinking about new school buildings and where they're going to go, where people are going to move, and then looking back on the backside saying, what are we going to do with the old ones in neighborhoods they're moving from that may be redeveloped at the same time? What's your crystal ball like there? Or do you have one?
I don't have a crystal ball. I have a lot of charts and graphs on my desk. You know, we are blessed to be a growing district. We have more and more kids coming to our district and trying to serve more and more of those kids as people move here, or as you build new developments in this community. That comes with its challenges of trying to find classrooms for those students. So we have to look at what are our options and what's our ability to meet that need. Now, as the economy grows, we try and figure out different options to do that. We're still a couple of years away from the overall economy recovering enough that we have the capacity to build like we probably need to. But we're going to be responsive to the community. We're going to keep growing with the community so that we can meet the community's needs.
And I know a long time ago, Aurora had something called the infamous Blue Line, where Aurora was never going to go beyond. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but Aurora so far exceeded the Blue Line. It's ridiculous. And so I think about how far APS can go out to Bennett, for example, because builders keep finding spots out there. So it's got to be a challenge to try to predict or work with them to see where they're going to go, to make sure you have schools where people are going to need them when the time comes.
Yeah, we have both. We have new developments going out east along the E470 corridor, and we have more dense construction happening in the north of Aurora, as you see around the Anschutz campus and also around original Aurora.
Career tracking. You probably have a lot of young ladies and a lot of young men thinking about, should I be an educator like Amanda? You know, what got you there? What keeps you there?
Well, clearly the kids keep me there.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. I can't imagine a desk job. They truly make the day go, and are exciting. Good conversation, and it's meaningful work. So I feel really fortunate for that. I think that teaching is something that a lot of people, think about doing, and I encourage them to get into the field. It's a giving field, and I feel really fortunate that I get to go to work every day and work with kids.
So you would inspire someone in your 10th grade, 11th grade class to be a teacher then?
Yes, definitely.
To go on and do it.
Yeah, or to do what makes them happy, and to do, to know that there are so many opportunities out there for them to excel and succeed, and to make sure that they're taking the steps that they have now in order to be successful. Whether it's, learning how to read and write or taking advantage of some of the programs that we have. APS has amazing programs. If we're teaching kids all the way 2 years into community college, take advantage of that, and that's what I talk to them about.
It's got to be exciting for you if you had students that graduated from APS to come back and teach in APS. Because staffing is always an issue all the time, where you're going to get the next generation of educators from and what that's going to be. So you have to be thinking about that as well.
Well, we have a lot of educators within the system who are graduates of APS, and they can all list to you all the different elementary schools and middle schools and high schools they graduated from.
And all the stories.
And all the stories and all the changes, and they're now teaching alongside people who used to be their teachers, or we're teaching now in some buildings third generations of students. And I think that's an exciting legacy for this community.
How is colleges interfacing with secondary now? I know some students can take college classes in their junior or senior year?
We even have students taking some college level classes in their freshman year.
Really?
Yes, advanced placement courses.
Okay. And IB too?
Yes, I mean, we have a number of IB schools across the district, even down to the middle school level. But we have, we're the state's #1 user of the Ascent program, which is that taking college classes and actually graduating with an associate's degree at the same time that you graduate with your high school diploma.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. That's too fast. You get an associate's degree at the same time you get a high school diploma.
You have that possibility.
You better be on the honor roll to do that one, right?
Yeah, you just have to be determined. You have to work hard.
I couldn't do that.
Well, it's
That's terrific.
Yeah, it's terrific. It's a great opportunity for kids.
Now, do parents know about that? Well, they know now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we work very hard with our counselors to let our students know that that's an option for them and something that they can do as a way to reduce the cost of college and to demonstrate that college is accessible for them and get them a jump start on getting a 4-year degree if that's what makes sense for them.
Yeah, and that's what parents need. Reduce the cost of college. Do it now. Get it all at once. They have to love that. That is for sure. What's the next step for Teacher of the Year? You do it again the next year? Two in a row, back to back, as they say in sports?
It's time to let somebody else take over as Teacher of the Year and have that experience, but just wrapping it up a little bit with some final trips and speaking engagements. So it's been an exciting year.
In your future?
I don't know, we'll see. I'm taking graduate classes right now, but one of the greatest things about my role this year is there's so many different avenues to go, and people who contribute to education, there's a myriad of ways that I can contribute as well.
Yeah, I'll ask you both, teachers, I'm sorry, are students over-tested? We have so many assessment tests that we give them, and then we measure teachers by them over and over and over. Do you ever get to teach critical thinking or something else? You got another test on the horizon. Are students over-tested these days?
I think it really depends on who you're asking.
Yeah.
I think that if you are able to use the information and relay it to kids and say, this is where you're at, this is the steps that you need to take in order to grow. If we're testing them for those reasons, then there's a clear connection to their learning.
Yeah.
And that's what always needs to happen. Rather than take a test, here are your scores, and the scores just go in a book. So assessment is an essential part of moving forward. We need to make sure that we do that every time.
That is for sure. A lot of parents are happy that their students get to take all these tests because my student graded like this versus somebody else's, and I've always been of the philosophy that sometimes you have too many tests, you don't have a chance to really do good learning and developing it, because here comes another test you got to have over and over, and you have to administer them if you like it or not, you know, if they're coming from the state.
Sure, and I would echo Amanda's comments. I mean, not all tests are created equal.
Yeah.
You know, some tests are very good learning opportunities and experiences in ways of understanding where your needs are as a learner, or where, from a teacher standpoint, where the classroom's needs are, and how you can differentiate your teaching to the students in front of you. Now, other tests are more kind of those benchmark, let's just figure out what's going on. And if you have too many of those, then that clearly can interfere with some of the development process. And so it really just depends.
We have about a minute left. One final comment, not to me, but to the parents, about how they can connect with the educators their kid has, and what they can expect and how they should be involved in their child's education.
Well,
and we'll give you the last word.
One of the things that was coming to mind when we were talking about getting an associate's degree is having a plan.
Yeah.
And communicating with your kid. What's your plan? Like, what do you need? What do you enjoy doing? How do you want to be successful? Even if you don't go down that road, what can we do for you right now?
Sure.
And communicating with your counselor, communicating with your school, and finding out what resources are available. And an open line of communication with your teacher. If you know that your child has certain needs, let us know.
Yeah.
So that we're best able to work with that student.
Superintendent Munn, the last word to the parents about the strength of the district and where it's going.
Well, I think we're very excited about where we're going. I think we have a number of educators and people involved in our district who are committed to the success of all of our kids. And I think that we continually want to instill in our community and our kids that sense of opportunity, of the wonderful doors that education can open for each of them.
All right. Colorado Teacher of the Year, Amanda Westenberg, and brand new, well, not brand new now, you've been indoctrinated a few weeks, new APS Superintendent Rico Munn. We both thank you both for being our guests on this edition, for sure. That's all we have for this evening. We thank you for watching Dateline Aurora, and we hope to see you back here again next month. Good night.
You're watching Aurora 8, proud to be serving the All-America city of Aurora, Colorado.